Alleluia. Om Mani Padme. Om. Allah.
Welcome. You're watching Harmony and Diversity, and we're speaking with Ron Laurie. And Ron's a specialist in human potential and development of value systems. This is our third interview with Ron, and we're going to discuss with Ron the levels of existence. And there's lots of colour to this, I believe, Ron.
Yes.
Tell us about levels of existence.
Well, probably not from a colour perspective, because that's kind of like a little symbol which helps you sort of track it.
Yeah.
But if I can talk about it from my own experience, my life experience. I was born into the world, and my first life existence was about survival. We all start there. We all need food. We all need to survive. So once that is satisfied, we naturally go on to the next level of existence. And the next level of existence is expressed by most of us in the sense of family, belongingness, sense of tribe. And from my perspective, it was in Scotland. There was a strong tribal aspect to my life existence in Scotland. But that then moves to the next level, which is more of an expressive self. So when I was going through the Boys Brigade, as I was saying in the first area, that was a kind of expressing myself. As boys, we expressed ourselves. The system, or the religious system, tried to contain that expression, not very successfully as far as we were concerned. But at one point in time, the existence of that next level of order and bringing things into a sense of control was very, very important. So I went through that level of existence as well. I found religious institutions as a great way to express who I was. But that didn't stop there. The next level of existence for me is when I moved into the corporate environment, where I was in places where I had to make decisions on a management level that my religious institution didn't have the answers for that. I need to have another sort of set of filters to look through in order to express myself in that corporate environment. And once I began to sort of work in the corporate environment, I've seen the drawbacks of some of the things that we're doing in the corporate environment. My particular industry that I was in, I've seen the waste that they were causing. I had a conscience about the waste. And so I could no longer live in that corporate existence. I became more community oriented, and how can we be more sustainable in what we do. So my existence about community. And then I recognized at one point in time that even didn't have the answer. And so I looked at it one day as a stack of things, a stack of value systems, a stack of existences that I had actually grown up and through, and then seen it from a broader perspective to say that everyone goes through these levels of existence.
Yes.
And to see that, it was like a light bulb moment, because it was all about the life force that every individual has, and they were expressing themselves just through different value systems, different levels of existence.
Yes.
And that was a big insight for me. I could put it all into context.
Yes, and running parallel to that, okay, accepting that, so there you've got a whole range of people all operating at these various levels of existence. How does that tie across into integral theory, in the sense that you've got to be integrating at all of these different levels of existence? How does that work?
Well, first of all, a person has got a right to be who they are. You can never sort of say to someone, you've got to be at this level of existence. That's not possible. People will actually, with the questions that they ask themselves, will move to a different level of existence. We've got to be more curious. We've got to be more probing. We've got to explore more. Today, I feel that we are dumbed down so much by a lot of the media. It's actually sucking the lifeblood out of us. We are curious species. We want solutions. So people have got to ask the questions. The quality of the questions that one asks oneself will determine the quality of life and the expansiveness that they will see life as. And so it's not about saying you're at this level or that level. People have got a right to be whatever level they're at. But what I would say, keep asking questions, keep being curious, keep, if there's something that is intention, your intention with something, where's that coming from? What's that telling you? What is that informing you? What's that pointing to that you should ask questions of in order to try and get a solution for, which will, in a sense, give you an opportunity to see things from a different perspective, a different value system.
So within an organisation, you would have people operating at a myriad of levels of existence.
A marvellous soup of diversity. Absolutely fascinating. Absolutely.
So this would connect with what I want from life and what I need from life. Is that a reasonable gauge to say, determine what level you're operating at?
Our life conditions will determine what thinking capacity is necessary in order to meet those life conditions.
So it's I can't remember exactly what the quote is, but it's something like, "Don't bother talking about philosophy to a hungry man."
Absolutely not.
Yes.
Absolutely not. Meet that man where they're at and who they are. Honour the human being that they are, regardless of their religious, their standing in life. It's about being a human to a human being and appreciating the diversity and the reflection that what you see in others is just a reflection of yourself. It's about how do we have harmony within all these different value systems. And if we look at the world, when we look at the conflict and the tensions in the world, we look at them and we see it's not about a human being to a human being.
No.
It's about a value system to a value system that's in conflict, a belief to a belief.
A belief to a belief. And there is a belief that time passes, and it certainly does, and it just has. So we'll take a break. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back. You're watching Harmony and Diversity, and we're speaking with Ron Laurie, and Ron's a specialist in human potential and the development of value systems. Ron, we touched on the international situation, and we're talking about human values, we're talking about levels of existence. If you look at the world, it covers just about every level of existence that there's possible to do. How can you integrate that? How can the United Nations, for example, how can that work?
I think in the developed world we have an arrogance where we believe that if we go in there and push our level of existence on other countries and other nations, then that's the good thing to do. Yeah, sure, that those countries need to do something, but for us to go in and say it's the right way and not go down to their level and understand them from where they're at, work with them, their culture, their value system, what they see as important, and facilitate that to come in and try and impose our value system on another country, I think that causes more conflict. And I think if we look at some of the conflicts around the world, we'll find that whenever one developed nation has gone into an underdeveloped nation and tried to force their perspective on things, it doesn't really work out well.
No.
You know.
No, it doesn't. And you mentioned earlier the humanity, the fact of being human beings.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So we've got the layers of the levels of human existence and value systems.
Mm-hmm.
Do you detect a common thread which runs through all of that? So even though you might be at a level of existence which has, like the hungry man, not going to listen to deep philosophical argument, what's the essence of him which may then be related to someone whose level of existence is relatively heavenly compared to his? Is there something common there?
We are all human beings. We all, we all contain the same life force, the same energy. There is no difference in that. That's common. Humanity, in its essence, we're all the same. We just build up these constructs and belief systems, and we look through those belief systems and those filters which colors our world, and we disagree with someone because they look at the world through a different color system. And what happens there is that the communication just doesn't happen. But the essence of what we are is we're human beings, and we have a life force, and that is a sacred life force, and in a sense, the spiritual aspect, the spiritual core of who we are, is more important than whatever belief system or value system that we uphold. There's nothing wrong with those belief systems and value systems. There's nothing wrong with them, but to recognize that there's something deeper behind them and in human beings, rather than the structures that they choose to express themselves through. So the system that they express themselves through is what gets more airplay than the actual essence of the human being.
So if you took three people from three different levels of existence, and you figuratively stripped them of all of these value systems, all of the social mores, etc., and you stripped it down, and the three of them are looking at one another, what would they see?
They would see a reflection of themselves in each other. They would see that there is no difference between each other. They would see that they're as much of a human being as each other. They would see themselves as the fundamental reality of what life is, and that is as a pure human being.
Well, we're going to integrate them now. We're going to say, right, well, from an integral theory point of view, these three people are operating. So we no longer see them as separate entities. They become the one entity.
Yes.
Is it just their humanity which joins them in that sense of unity, or is there something else?
Well, I think, I mean, I refer to it, what is that life force that we have. And I believe that the more an individual recognizes that life force, I believe that when my experiences on the hills in Scotland, I was asking myself those questions: who am I? Who am I? Asking those questions, I was actually directly interfacing with that life force and recognizing that life force within myself. Meditative practices, we quiet ourselves down from the chatter of our mind to actually understand and acquaint ourselves with the essence of who we are. We go through religious experiences and we use religious icons to remind ourselves of who we really are. So at the end point, we are one. We are one. And for me, when I look back on my experiences, is when I've had that spiritual experience, is to recognize that there is no difference between self and other.
Yes, I think that something that pops in my mind is an issue of honour. Is that you have had your experience, say, laying on the heather, and someone else has their experience up the top of a tree. It's possible. The temptation is to dishonour one because it's not the same as the other.
Absolutely.
So you really, the tree and the heather, there's a matter of honouring
Absolutely.
the potential, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Honouring. Absolutely. An individual's got a right to whatever value system they hold, but to recognise that that is a construct that they have brought up about themselves in order to make meaning of the world at that particular point in their life.
And meaning of the world at that particular point, if you don't have time, you've got nothing. We'll take a break. We'll be back in a moment.
Mani Allah, Alleluia, Mani Allah.
Welcome back. You're watching Harmony and Diversity, and we're speaking with Ron Laurie, and Ron's a specialist in human potential and the development of value systems. Ron, value systems. It would seem that they are perhaps the barrier which stands between the full integration of human potential.
Absolutely, yes.
How do you think we might manage value systems to bring about some capacity for integration?
I think that we become very enculturated around specific value systems, and we adopt value systems mindlessly, and we don't do our own inquiry, don't do our own thinking. So I think one of the ways in which we can move to higher levels of human potential is to recognize the fact that there are value systems that we all carry around with us. We all recognize them, we can all look at them, we can all point to them. But rather than pointing that that's different or that's better than mine or that's worse than mine, that we recognize who they are or what they are, and we strive to recognize that and to move beyond them. Transpersonal is about moving beyond, and it's about moving beyond to the egoic attachment that we sometimes have associated with how we see the world. So I think recognizing the power that they have over us, and to liberate ourselves from being so dogmatic to them.
So if you could keep in the front of your mind the sense of essence, the sense of the unity, then that would have the potential at least to negate or neutralize your value systems. Now that requires that to do that we get some sort of a grasp on what this essence might be.
Yeah.
Have you got some concept in relation to that?
Well, I think that essence of who we are is in that sort of life connection, that primacy of the experience that we have as human beings. That phenomenology, that lived experience of who we are, rather than rather than putting our attention on someone else's experience, get more in touch with our own experience and finding out who we are, and the depth of that has the ability not only to understand more about ourselves, but to recognize that we are laden with these thinking processes, these value systems, and to move beyond them.
In order to do that, it seems to me there's a suggestion that when we're talking about integration, each as individuals, we need to have the confidence to be integrated as an individual, so that your personal experience becomes something which you are quite happy to stay in the company of that. You do not need to expand it further.
Yes.
Where would that confidence come from? How can you instill in people the confidence that their personal experience of the essence, which is, I've had this quoted to me many times, and I'm sure you're aware of it yourself, but the fact that the distance from here to here is the longest in the universe.
That's right.
So from a value system point of view,
Yeah.
Are there values which are based on this, do you think? This movement from here to here?
Well, probably there has been value systems wrapped around how we actually move from here to here, and
Yes.
and the proper way, perhaps, that we move from here to here, based upon the perspective that the individual has. So there'll be very many different ways in we're actually getting from here to here, and they're expressed in a number of valued ways of getting there. But what's most important is getting from here to here, regardless of how you get there.
That's right.
Get there, that you connect with the heart of who you really are. That's the most important. Whatever route you take is totally up to you, but get there.
But arrive at the destination.
Arrive at the destination,
Yes.
yeah.
And using the word integration again, there is the potential
Yes.
for that to be magnified if you allow yourself to be connected with everything that exists.
Absolutely. One of the aspects of integral theory is the recognition that first of all we actually have to look at things in isolation. We have to recognize and compartmentalize. Differentiation happens before integration.
Yes.
Differentiation of different value systems happens before we can actually integrate them. Different ways of looking at the world have to be differentiated before we can actually integrate them.
Yeah.
Einstein says we cannot solve the level of the problem at which it was created. We have to rise above the problem to see it. We have to differentiate, then integrate constantly.
Yes, that's an absolute insight. And from Einstein's point of view, he had a few of those, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah. So there's a thread. If you allow yourself to see the individual, so we're looking at the glass and we're looking at the tree and we're looking at us as individuals, and then we can integrate. What are we integrating? In the sense that if we look at one another as individuals, we're integrating our humanity, but there's more. When you're integrating everything.
Yeah. So sometimes when I look at where we potentially can be, and I look at where we're at the moment, you kind of can't help but despair. Really.
And we can't, because
No.
I just got the time signal there. So we've gone through this. Thank you so much, Ron. We could go on and on forever, but we'll need to call it a day. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll be back next week with another interview.
Baha'u'llah, Shanti Om, Allah.